I just was reading a tweet by Chuck Todd from NBC News, and well, there's a big dust up because a lot of people are saying, Chuck, we don't trust you, especially, I think peop Republicans and Trump supporters think he's what they call a libtard, a retard who's a liberal, libtards. Um, I don't think Chuck Todd is stupid by any sense of imagination. But I think the point that they're trying to make is that there's a certain element of elitism. I get to be on national TV, and I am somebody said the conscience of the nation. And that goes back to Walter Cronkite of CBS News. I mean, everyone, listened to Walter, and they figured that his word was gold. And um, so how did Chuck Todd lose it? Well, it's the Great Divide. The Great Divide. And the Great Divide is caused, the Republicans point the finger at the Democrats, and the Democrats point it at the Republicans, but it's not. Their philosophies are different, but the root cause is the Hegelian dialectic, which is a strange term, but it is basically behind the scenes, they're all one thing, these politicians, self-serving, and they serve the elite interests. So, and what they do is they try and make them, they branch off into two parties. And so you are either one or the two parties in American politics. Um, and then you get your emotions going so much, you hate this party and the other one hates you. But you don't realize that behind the scenes, these two political parties they serve the same people. They don't serve the public, but that's how they get to serve who they serve, is because they brainwash you. They brainwash you into thinking I'm a conservative or I'm a liberal, and never shall the two meet. So if you look up Hegelian dialectic, you will be able to find out all kinds of information about how the mainstream media uses this, and the politicians especially. But, certain news broadcasters are, they'll pile on with the emotion about, how horrible the other ones are. I'm sorry, they're not looking out for your interests, either party. They're not. I mean, even Bernie Sanders, with all of his so-called socialist rhetoric and things, is it an improvement over what you got? It's more politicians, it's more regulations, and that's what happens when you go with the liberal side. And I'm sorry, because a lot of times my heart wants to go liberal, but I know what liberals do. They regulate you to death. So I'll give you the case in Canada with the Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was elected to get rid of the Conservative. But, his platform was we were going to legalize marijuana. And eventually, it took him a long time. But when you see what the end result was, it's endless regulation. And no one say, but now, several civil liberties. I mean, now the police can stop you without any just cause. There's no just cause. They can stop you for no reason because of this change of the liberal policy to legalize marijuana. So, do I think that's a good thing? I think it's a disaster. I think it's a disaster. And so, who really gets served by legalization of marijuana? Well, strangely, it's the top cops. The top cop of the RCMP and the top cop of the largest city in Canada, Toronto, are now in the marijuana selling business. Go figure that out. And then in Canada we had CSIS, which is like the intelligence service for the government, and it turns out that the man's name was Porter, Well, Porter was as crooked as you can possibly get, and he was the head of intelligence. So basically, all the spying that was done on people went to Mr. Porter, who was a criminal, a crook. So, if you think your civil liberties are being invaded, then you have to ask, maybe that's not a good idea. And people say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. But all the information is going to people like Porter, who's a criminal and appointed by the government. You wonder, well, why would the government? It was the conservative government of Stephen Harper that approved this man to run the Secret Intelligence Service. So I don't trust any politicians. I think they're all corrupt. They're corrupt, and they're beholden to big money, and all their appointees are beholden to big money. It's all about big money. If you got big money, you own the politicians and you own the government. That's the way I feel, and the longer things go on, it just reinforces my view all the time. What to do about it? We have to get rid of the government that we have, not by election. We have to change the way that we govern ourselves. No more voting for representatives. No more of that. No more of that. That's all I'll leave it at for now. I mean, I think I could do a whole nother lecture on where we might go with it, but we have to abolish what we've got. It's a disaster. It's a disaster, and the way the taxes keep going up higher and higher, and no accountability for spending, and then I see the tax dollars spent improperly, and it goes to the rich people that own the big contractors. They get unbelievable amounts of money, and the debt keeps going up, and the taxpayers are supposed to be on the hook for it. It's called odious debt. Odious debt, and if I was in charge, odious debt would be just canceled. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Sorry. Is it going to turn us into Venezuela? No, it's not, because we're going to declare independence from all these other corporate slave states. And if people want to go move there, fine. But if you want to stay, it'll be a much happier place. And we're not going to run out of toilet paper and medicines. I can guarantee that. You just have to think of any country that's under a wartime footing. I mean, if they need it, they get it made. And, if all the corporations are owned by multinationals and they don't want to make it for you, well, it's very easy to build a factory, and, the information is available how to make these things. It can all be made. It can all be made and better. You think I'm kidding? I remember Pierre Trudeau said that one time, reporter, when it was some crisis, and he told that reporter, just watch me. However, I'm not in that position, so, there's nothing to watch other than my videos and my comic genius. I'm Bobby Burrows.